Today, you will be learning a new vocabulary about a Mexican vengeful ghost who is said to roam near bodies of water, mourning her children whom she drowned in a jealous rage after discovering her husband was cheating on her. Must comment if you like today's lesson. Happy learning. Story, The Crying Woman. Once, there was a woman called Inmaculada. Her friends called her Inma. She lived in a village in Mexico. Inmaculada was indigenous, and her mother and father died when she was very young. She was poor, and she washed clothes for other people in the village. She wanted to leave the village and travel the world, but she thought it would never happen. One day a Spanish man came to the village. He was rich and rode on a horse. His name was Guillermo. Inma thought he was very handsome, but she did not talk to him. He did not want to talk to poor indigenous girls, she thought. But that night, when she was washing clothes in the river, Guillermo came to her. "You're working so late," he said. "Oh." She wanted to run away. "Please, stay. Do not worry, I won't hurt you." She was afraid of him and could not look in his eyes. He was so handsome. He touched her face and made her look him in the eyes. "You are so beautiful. You are too beautiful to be washing clothes in the night." Guillermo thought she was beautiful. She couldn't believe it. "I am not beautiful," she said. "You are so handsome. I am just a poor indigenous girl. I have work to do." New vocabulary to learn. "I will show you you are beautiful," he said. The next night he came back with a white dress. It was beautiful, and Inmaculada had never seen a dress like it. "It is for you," he said. "What?" she said. "It is so beautiful, I cannot wear this. People will ask where it is from." "Then you will wear it only inside my house." "Inside your house?" Guillermo kissed her. She was very surprised. He was the first man who had kissed her. "Come home with me, Inma," he said. Inmaculada had lots of clothes to wash, but she forgot about them. She went to Guillermo's house, and she put on the white dress. They kissed, and she stayed the night. Every night after work, Inmaculada went to Guillermo's house. She put on the white dress, and they slept together. Soon Inmaculada got pregnant. Everyone asked her who the father was, but she did not tell them. Guillermo said she couldn't tell them. "They won't understand our love," he said. "I am Spanish, and you are indigenous. They will think I am a monster." "I don't care," said Inmaculada. "I love you so much, Guillermo. They will want to hurt our child," he said. "You must not tell them." New vocabulary to learn. So Inmaculada told nobody about her love for him. After she had their son, she stayed inside his house. He was rich, so she did not have to work. She stayed inside and looked after their son, and waited for Guillermo to come home. But Guillermo always came home very late. He only wanted to sleep with her. He didn't have time to talk to her or play with their son. Inma loved Guillermo, but he didn't look at her anymore. "I have to make him love me again," she said. So she got pregnant 2 more times, and they had 2 more children, 2 daughters. Every time, Inma thought that Guillermo would love her again. They had a beautiful family. Wasn't he happy? Didn't he want to talk to his children? But Guillermo didn't love Inmaculada. In the day, Inma cried, and at night she slept with Guillermo. One day, Inmaculada said, "Please, Guillermo, we must get married. We have 3 children. God wants us to get married. I want to get pregnant again. I love you. I don't care what people say. Other people don't matter. Our family matters. She touched him, but he moved away. I will think about it, Guillermo said. But do not get pregnant again. Use the medicine that the old women make. New vocabulary to learn. That night, Guillermo did not come home. Inmaculada was worried. She went into the village and looked for him, and then she saw him through a window. He was inside another woman's house. It was a beautiful Spanish woman, and they were kissing and laughing. "Oh, my love," he said, "you are so good to me." "Guillermo," she said, "I don't care about your words. I don't care about that indigenous woman. Just kiss me." "I'm going to take you back to Spain with me," he said, and kissed her. That night, Inmaculada did not sleep. She cried and cried. "What's wrong, Mum?" said her children. But Inmaculada didn't tell them. In the morning, she stopped crying and said, "Come on, children. We're going to the river." She had decided something. She could not live like this anymore. Guillermo stopped loving her when they had children. So if they didn't have children, maybe he would love her again. They went to the river. "Go into the water, my children," she said. "But, Mum," they said, "we can't swim." "That is fine," she said. "Your mother will help you." They went into the water where it was deep. Inmaculada said, "Goodbye, my children. New vocabulary to learn." Then she pushed her children under the water. They shouted and she cried, but she did not stop. The children drowned and died. Inmaculada stood in the river. It was done. She had drowned her children. Would Guillermo love her now? But when she saw their bodies, she understood what she had done. "I am a monster!" she cried. "I cannot live like this!" Inmaculada wanted to drown with her children, but she was afraid. So she took a knife and cut herself. Her blood went into the river. It ran over her body, and it ran over the bodies of her children. That night, Guillermo came home, but Inmaculada wasn't there. His children weren't there. "How strange," he said. But really he was happy. He didn't love Inmaculada anymore. Did that make him a monster? The next day he took Blanca to the river. Blanca was the Spanish girl he was in love with. She was more beautiful than Inmaculada, and he could tell everyone that he loved her. "Guillermo," she said, "I am afraid I cannot swim." Guillermo laughed. "Then be careful. I'm going to get a bottle of wine. Take off your shoes and put your feet in the water. It feels good." So Blanca took off her shoes and put her feet in the water. New vocabulary to learn. It did feel good, but then she heard a strange sound. Someone was crying. She looked around, but she saw nobody. Then she looked in the water. In the bottom of the river there was a woman in a white dress. She was looking for something. "Oh, my children, where are you?" she cried. "Who is that woman at the bottom of the river?" said Blanca. She looked closer, and then she fell in the water. The river was fast, and the water was deep. "Help! Help!" she cried. "Guillermo!" But Guillermo did not come to help her. She felt a cold, wet hand on her foot. The hand pulled her down. When Guillermo came back, Blanca had drowned. "Oh my God," he said. "She is dead." He looked in the river, but he did not touch the body. He thought he saw something white, like a white dress. But when he looked again, There was nothing there. I must return to Spain, he said. Nothing good comes from this place. So Guillermo left. He went back to Spain, and Inmaculada stayed in the river. The people in the village called her the crying woman, La Llorona, and from that day, people were always careful when they went near the river. New vocabulary to learn,